Hey, it's me, Vanity again, and I just finished this commission that you see here. I just finished that relatively recently, and I wanted to show you guys the full time lapse. It's a kind of long. The file says that it is 35 minutes long, so if you want to stick around, you can stick around. If not, you really don't have to. But if you want to sit here and chill and have my video on as a background or take some notes or kind of analyze my process a little bit, then you're fine to stay. So here we go. So this was a commission that I had gotten from a very good friend of mine. And she was like, "Hey, Vanity, would you like to go through and draw a commission for my OC?" I was like, yeah, that's dope. So as you see here, right, we're kind of getting the gist of everything. I'm kind of like getting some of the elements down, and I'm not really liking how some parts look. Some parts kind of are displayed. Did not like that. So of course, we do a redo. We use a 3D model, and I'm going to sit here and say that it is perfectly fine for you to use a 3D model for any of your work. Um, it is an industry standard. A lot of these things that you will find in Clip Studio are utilized by a lot of the industry professionals, including the manga professionals. So it is perfectly fine for you to go through and utilize these things. So back to the drawing. As you can tell, I'm kind of breaking some things down. Kind of getting some of the line art down. Uh, During my process, I tend to redo a lot of the elements inside of the drawing, which I'm like, yeah, cool, that's fine. And for some reason, when it comes to drawing hair and bangs, it stresses me out because the high details. Because I'm trying to up the amount of details that I have in my work while also retaining a lot of high quality, very good quality lines. And with that, it's kind of stressful a little bit for me, kind of chilling with it, trying to vibe with it. And as you see here, I'm sitting here doing different areas because that's my first idea, to add different areas to the line art to kind of section them off. And I know you just see me change where the eyes are. That's perfectly fine. Again, a lot of artists do that as well. So it is okay. Even the best of the best will go through and redo a lot of the details in the face and redo some readjustments. Now with the color, sometimes when it comes to the color and laying down some colors, I will lower the opacity of my selection layer. And because for me, I feel like it makes it easier for me to really see where I'm going. And of course, the rendering here is kind of like, it's like decent, I feel. During this piece, I had discovered using color correction layers as a way to help render, because it does make it go faster. And as you see, I'm kind of feeling out how it's gonna look, and I'm pretty happy with this. You know, I'm gonna go ahead and let you guys watch for a little bit while I drink my coffee and we watch together. So, until the next part kind of goes in, but you will see that I'm laying down some of the details, some things that needed to be put down, and some minor things and minor tweaks. So real quick, when it comes to doing some highlights, as you've seen that I did on the horns, um, I really like doing effects using lighting and on stuff like horns or wings or anything that's a little bit different. So because of that, um, I have a lot of fun and really utilizing and showcasing different effects on these type of elements in character design. And when I draw Kale from my manga, I will probably do a um, tutorial on it. So now you see that I redid the whole thing again. I'm redoing a lot of the sketch again because I'm like, hey, I'm really not liking this, I'm not digging this. So at this point in time, Clip Studio had came out with a 3D um, feature where you can utilize 3D hands as mannequins, and I just used that real quick. I will probably use the hands for some studies and stuff so I can draw them organically, but trust when I say this, I can in fact draw hands pretty well. It's just hands are hard sometimes, you know? But as you can tell here, I'm sitting here, I'm putting in my line art. I have my different color line art layers so I can, you know, better navigate the page a little bit more so it looks cleaner in the end. And I feel like so far, you know, for this one, my thought process is like, hey, I really like this one, but for some reason, the eyes look different. I'm not really happy with what the eyes are looking like. It looks really weird in my personal opinion, but the details are pretty much detailing and it does look rather good. There are some things that I would change, but of course I have changed some of these things. But again, I really do like what's going on here with the high hair details, the waviness, the flowiness of her hair, as though she is in a type of space going on here. And of course, as you see with my line art, I'm thickening some areas that needed the thickening and stuff, you know. I go in now with the colors, and the colors are really nice. They're really pretty. You know, I feel like they really match very well. They meld very well. I'm sitting here color picking from the reference image that I was given. But I do really like the little nose highlight. I've always wanted to do that. But for some reason, I wasn't really vibing with it because I couldn't get the full kind of, not look-ish, but the full kind of position that I wanted it to. And as you can see here, I pretty much figured out that you can utilize a color correction layer as a way to do really vibrant and beautiful colors. I will show you how I do a color correction layer. If you guys want that type of tutorial, I will show you guys that in depth. And what all you can do, because I've learned how to do that just off rip, because I scroll through social media and I'm like, yeah, cool, let me look at this, let me utilize this real quick. Now, as you can see, you know, the colors are very vibrant, they're very pretty in my personal opinion. However, I still feel like I could have done a little bit better with the highlights. And it looks really nice in my opinion. So I'm going to go ahead, throw a mute on myself because I will yap your ear away, and let you guys watch more of the process here. Okay, and I'm back. So, with as you see here, I'm laying down. I have laid down the background idea that I wanted, and I'm putting in um, my lighting layer, my lighting, kind of figuring out what I want for that. Lighting for me, I really do enjoy doing that because it's a lot of fun to see the effects that you can pretty much bring about when you're using different lighting styles and different things. Off the bat though, I'm not really, I wasn't really digging a lot of the um, how I did her lips. So as you can see here, I will redo it over and over and over and over again. Um, I'm sitting here at this point in time trying to make it a little bit more painterly. So I was like, hey, let me try doing it with lineless art, with like a lineless style. And I guess during the process, I kind of was like, you know what, let's not do a very vibrant type of thing going on here. Let's not do that, right? I don't know why I did that. You know, the process is kind of chaotic in my opinion. But I'm still, trying to feel things out for this piece. And I know it's like, oh, you should be done by now. No, because art takes time, but also we have fun doing it, right? Looking back at what I'm doing, you know, I definitely spend a lot of time on the hair. But now as you see here, I am redoing the whole thing again. I changed the angle of her head. You know, some things have been changed and adjusted. I'm like, okay, cool, maybe this side looks really good. And, I'm adding some things in here. At this point in time, you're seeing that I'm still relying on a 3D head. And now here is when I showcase a little bit of my skill set in drawing a head. But for some reason, I have a very hard time getting the facial shape right so it looks aesthetic, which also looks good, while also having it retain my style. Because when I do commission work, I have the habit of trying to get it as perfect as my mind can perceive it. And I don't stop redoing it until it is exactly correct on how it is. So throughout the piece, you will see, I'm sure that you've seen that there are some, problems with proportions. There are problems with keeping things kind of balanced, as well as some anatomy issues that I do have. I feel like I have some anatomy issues, but yeah. Now at this point in time, we are adding in whole our whole liner or line work, and I'm using a lot thicker lines because at this point in time I realized it's easier to do thicker lines and then edit later because the thicker lines can be read in a more cleaner way than a thin line. However, while I do have a very deep love and appreciation for very thin lines, thick lines are really good for doing a lot of things here and keeping things well balanced while also showing that there is sections that need to be worked on. But as you see here, I kind of really got my groove, really got what I wanted in here, messing with some lighting and doing some rendering stuff with, of course, the color correction layer that is now transformed into how I do a lot of my lighting, a lot of my rendering and stuff. And when it comes to me doing my shading or my lighting in general, I will typically I will typically fill in the whole selection, and then I will cut into the whole selection and using a lot of the eraser tool. But the eraser that I use is a soft eraser, but it's like a cross between the hard and the soft eraser, but it will go back and forth between the two. But as you can see here, I really found my groove. I really like what I'm sitting here doing, really feeling myself here. And, for me, the lighting can technically be included in how I render, but this is the easiest way that I found that is pretty nice. As you see here, I added some gradients in here to make the piece look a lot more interesting in my personal opinion. And with that, it looks really nice personally, and I'm adding in the overall rendering, and it looks pretty good in my opinion, you know, the highlights and all of that jazz. And I'm going to go ahead and throw a mute so I don't continue to yap anymore. So we are about at the end of the time lapse. So if you enjoyed watching this time lapse and really want to know more about my thought process on each of my pieces, go ahead and throw a subscribe. Go ahead and like, and make sure to comment on what your favorite things are, as well as some questions that you may have for me, and I will try to answer them as best as I can. Follow me on all my socials. I will link them all down inside of the description. And hopefully I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.